Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. If you've been wondering about Wanderer in a DPS Showdown, wonder no more because it's time for a DPS Showdown between our two 5-star anemo DPS characters, the Wanderer and Xiao. Before we actually kick off this video, I do want to say that I have been sick. My son did bring back many germs from daycare and it tends to hit me every time. So yeah, I've been a little out of it lately, but I did want to get this video out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and keep going. Well, we now have two edgy teenager and emo boys. Anyway, with the advent of Farazan, Xiao has finally been buffed in a big way. However, Xiao is immediately met with competition from the other new 5-star and emo DPS boy, the Wanderer. So in today's video, we'll be seeing how the old anemo main DPS character compares to the new one. My Wanderer is using his signature weapon at Refinement 5, the 4-piece Shimenao's Reminiscence. He's also at Constellation 6 and his talents are at 9, 11, and 11. He is at around 80% damage potential for this video. Xiao is using a fairly standard Xiao build for most of the overworld with the 4-piece Vermilion hereafter. He's using the Staff of Homa at Refinement 5 and also at under 50% HP. He's at Constellation 6 and his talents are at a great 10, 12, and 12. My Xiao is at a great 84% damage potential. However, this wouldn't be a Constellation 6 Xiao DPS Showdown without some help from the man himself, Shintenzu. For those who don't know, Shintenzu is one of the best and most dedicated Xiao mains out there, and he helped a lot on the Abyss 12 parts of this video. Do check out his YouTube channel for regular top tier Xiao play. And without further ado, it's the most important and our favorite part of the video, the disclaimers. All runs in this video can be improved. I simply do each of these runs a few times and pick the best time for each of the situations. I'm not here to grind infinitely to save a few frames to a few seconds. Each of these runs are done to the best of my abilities and problem solving within a reasonable amount of time. This is simply an anecdotal comparison between these characters and my levels of investment in problem solving and skill. Because my characters are all at Constellation 6 Refinement 5, this is not an accurate reflection of their power levels at lower constellations. Just because character A is better than character B in a specific scenario does not mean that character A is better than character B. Please take everything with a giant grain of salt. Ah yes, when was the last time there was a DPS Showdown without the Regisvine first? That's right, never, because we all need to eat our salad. This was interestingly quite close, with the Wanderer taking a couple full N3 combos to blow away our poor Regisvine friend in 3.85 seconds. And just to clarify, the time you see on the screen are in frames for recording accuracy, although sometimes I will mention the times in decimals. Xiao is also reasonably great at a very short fight like this one, largely thanks to his ability to front load a good amount of damage on the Regisvine with his 3 consecutive E's. And he was only a little bit behind the Wanderer with his time of 4.47 seconds. As usual though, this fight is too short to say anything definitive about, so let's move on to another Regisvine showcase, but this time instead of the generalized builds, I'm using slightly more creative builds. The Wanderer has a surprisingly great burst at Constellation 3. There were a few tricks employed here. Now, of course, I can't use his burst if I have the Shimenao's equipped because that removes his energy, so I swapped out a couple Shimenao's pieces for just other artifact pieces. Then I had to actually rise up into the air and then dash immediately to consume 50 points or so of Hyugoryoku points to maximize his burst damage from his Constellation 2. This then allows the Wanderer to do a very impressive raw 200,000 damage nuke to our poor Regisvine with just his burst. Now for Xiao, this was a bit more straightforward, but I decided to go with a crit fish build where he needed to crit 4 times in a row. But with a single plunge and 3 E's and a crit fish build, along with him perpetually about to die thanks to needing to be at low HP for the Staff of Homa's passive, Xiao also had an impressive showing of 3.42 seconds against the Regisvine. Yet again though, this fight was too short to say anything about these two characters, but I think it did demonstrate a couple interesting points, so let's actually move on to a longer fight. Up next is our first marginally durable enemy, the giant robot chicken itself, the Aeon Blight Drake, Overworld Edition. Overworld Edition Aeon Blight Drake is just a straightforward single target boss fight. I decided to start timing from when the character first takes action. Wanderer was able to output around 600,000 raw damage in a very decent 8.97 seconds. Considering his playstyle is to literally mash left click for a while, this is a very solid performance. Now Xiao isn't known for a single target DPS, however the robot chicken is one of his better boss fights to fight. This is because he can usually get the plunge through hitbox to connect most of the time, which significantly increases his DPS output and makes his plunge spam even better than his N1C plunge combo, or also known as the jet combo. Xiao wasn't too far behind with his good clear time of 12.08 seconds. But what about a full team scenario, and an AoE scenario? Well, we've got an interesting scenario to put them in, Biz 1222, which has two groups of 2 enemies. So Wanderer's normal attack spam is better AoE than I expected, as it was able to reliably hit both the Cryo Lava Churls when they were close together. However, the Electro Lava Churls take much longer to group up. It's also worth noting that the Wanderer is able to do his Elemental Burst twice in a single rotation, as this was the perfect timing for Wanderer to squeeze out enough damage to one-cycle both waves of Lava Churls. Shintenzu Xiao was also stellar during this run, and this is one of the best scenarios for Xiao's Constellation 6 to shine. You have 2 large stationary overlapping targets for Xiao's elemental skill to reliably hit both of them. Then Shintenzu used the C6 EEEs to keep both the Electro Lava Churls' HPs at similar levels. Our last single thing showcased before the continuous Abyss 12 run is, how fast can their full teams take out Teyvat's beefiest robot chicken in 12-3-1? Alright, so this is where Wanderer really starts to shine. Wanderer was able to do around 2 million damage in just 13.72 seconds, while also hitting the robot chicken while it had damage mitigation as it was getting up. There are only a few other characters in the game that can do this specific fight this quickly or a little bit faster. This is an incredible demonstration of Wanderer's boss killing potential. So we can always count on Shintenzu to put out a great show for Xiao, as he masterfully dashes under the robot and then snipes its core out of the air to then land behind it. This allows him to high plunge spam for up to 200,000 on the plunge part, and for the plunge through hitbox to connect reliably. While certainly not as fast as the Wanderer in this fight, Shintenzu Xiao wins the style contest for this in 22 seconds. As always, we need to have our obligatory continuous Abyss 12 run. So let's see how our 2 edgy and emo boys do here. This Vis 12 is great for putting teams through both multi-target scenarios and single-target scenarios. 12-on-1 demonstrates the Wanderer's ability to switch between using his burst as a quick anemo nuke to wipe a wave, as well as to being kind of a hyper carry to do a lot of normal attack damage. Again, he was able to actually output 2 bursts during this single chamber, which is pretty awesome. 12-2-1 is an absolute nightmare, with 2 very beefy waves on the opposite sides of the map. Kazuha is primarily brought because he helps immensely against this chamber. Then I had a huge epiphany in realizing that Farazan's buff has a comically large buff radius. Although I'm not 100% sure if the team is getting her buff from all the way over here, it sure felt like it, as this team was able to wipe out 12-2-1 in a very reasonable amount of time. And mainly, 12-3-1 is extremely aggravating, requiring you to roll the 1 in 3 chance for the cryo buff, the roughly 1 in 4 chance for the boss to do this attack where it exposes core instead of flying backwards across the map, and then everything else still has to go smoothly. Nonetheless, Wanderer's great single target DPS was able to clean up our robot chicken nemesis in a single rotation. Shintenzu Xiao was remarkably competitive in 12-on-1, being within literal frames of my Wanderer's clear time. Also, if you can't tell, I do think that Xiao has a significant higher skill ceiling, needing to angle his E's properly and ration them in comparison to mashing left click for the Wanderer. Abyss 12-2-1 is where Xiao's energy funneling issues really start to come to light though. Since Shintenzu needed his burst for 12-3-1, he decides to chip away at the second wave with Xiao's first burst even without all the buffs up, just enough to be able to finish it off with everything else. A quite creative approach to doing this. And as for 12-3-1, well, this positioning behind the Aeon Blight Drake is crucial for the setup, and similar to the previous single chamber run, Xiao is able to hit it both with the main plunge as well as the plunge through hitbox. Impressively, Xiao is able to single rotation it, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. So yeah, huge thanks to Shintenzu for all his help in this video. Do go check out his channel, link will be in the description for more Xiao content. So there you go, a DPS showdown between the two anemo boys of Genshin Impact. Looking at the final results, I'm actually very impressed with Xiao's ability to still relatively keep up with the Wanderer. Xiao is quite competitive in AoE, Constellation 6 friendly scenarios, and he honestly wasn't even astronomically behind in single target situations now. And of course, Xiao still does have his energy issues, which Wanderer often bypasses in comparison. Also, this is for Constellation 6 Wanderer, who gets huge benefits from his constellations in comparison to Xiao, who mainly just benefits from his Constellation 6. Sadly, I couldn't do a Constellation 0 DPS showdown for some complex reasons involving MiHoYo themselves, but alas, perhaps that's a story for another day. Also, I regularly make Genshin Impact videos ranging from Caesar showcases, DPS showdowns, guide videos, and more. So be sure to smash the subscribe button, as it's the best and easiest way for you to support my work. Also, don't forget to like the video and leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is Iwan Toulouse, signing out.